Hello, beautiful ladies. I'm Marianne Solis, Joyful Relationship Coach, and I'm excited to have Dr. Ray Doctor here today joining us. He's got so much wisdom. He has a wonderful path of just a path that has taken him on so many different experiences and knowledge. So it's just a joy to have him. I'm really grateful to have you here, Dr. Ray. And ladies, that if you're watching, please give StreamYard permission to use your name and your picture. So if you have comments, let us know your questions because we're here to serve you. And if you're watching the replay, please feel free to comment and question and post your questions also, because we want to get back to you. We're here to serve you. So welcome, Dr. Ray.
Thank you for having me.
This is really exciting.
Your meditation, you said that you like to bring everyone in and center them first.
Yes, I mean, we all have these hectic days, and so it's really good to kind of take a deep breath and just sit in a space of quietness and really tune into the expansiveness of the universe. So if you all feel like closing your eyes, everyone watching on the replay, just sit, get comfortable, and whenever you're ready, take a deep breath and close your eyes. And I just invite you into this beautiful space to put everything to one side and really ground into the magic and the wisdom of the universe, breathing deep into your hips, down into your legs, down into the soles of your feet, and connecting with Mother Earth in her infinite wisdom, in her beautiful love and knowledge, connecting to your beautiful, just the most beautiful place in your soul and your heart that is looking out for you. She's always watching and wanting to give you wisdom and guidance. So really sending her love right now, because we're in this transformational process. We're here to experience answers and knowledge on a deeper level. And we want to move into a place of power, tuning in to that wise heart, to that wisdom that's in the universe that's supporting us, connecting to that now. The wisdom of the trees, the ocean, the beautiful sun, all the friends and family that are supporting you in your greatness. And knowing that you are being supported 100% by the universe, that you can feel that all of life is with us now. Moving into a place of listening, curiosity, openness, and discovery, and allowing your awareness to expand into your connection with us and to all the people in your life who are standing for your greatness, and how good it is to know in this connection to ourselves and to the energy and intelligence of life that your destiny is unfolding so powerfully. And together we simply say yes, and thank you, and so it is, and so it shall be. That feels better.
Awesome. So as far as questions, and I know you wanted me to share a little bit about myself, but I'd love to open this up with, because you mentioned there was different age groups, and I don't know the exact issues or what's coming up. Do you have a list of questions, or you're hoping that they'll be put in a comment? Like, do you have anything notes for yourself, or kind of what they're going through, and you could bring that to my awareness?
Well, I have a bunch of ladies that couldn't join live, and so they've given me their questions. And then we have these issues that I think that we're always dealing with, the stereotypical ideas of men and women. So there was some discussion the other day where there was a lady that really doesn't trust men and says basically that men only want women for their bodies. And so I don't know how we get over that, and that kind of that fixed mindset, or that those stereotypes that really hold us back from seeing the bigger picture of humanity, and knowing that all people are different, and knowing that all men are like women. They really, everyone wants to be loved. They want to be happy, and stepping away from these stereotypes that really hinder us, the ones that well, there's a lot of them. I'm sure you've heard them in your couples counseling and relationship coaching. So how would you address that?
So you did want me to share a little about myself.
Yes.
To that, and this might be long-winded. I don't want to talk a lot about myself. It's really funny that when people would share my bio, I'd be like, oh, because it's like things I have done versus who I am right now, how I'm showing up right now, which is everything, as you know.
Mhm.
So I have been working with individuals and couples one-on-one to doing workshops for 27 years,
Uh-huh.
primarily focusing in relationships. I have a doctorate in clinical psychology and a bunch of other initials next to my name, but primarily it always comes back down to the relationship with that person, with themselves, with how they do the self-talk, which was what you mentioned, because it does sabotage the experiences. Because if we're to look at this not just with how a person feels, but how that's emanating energy, if you believe in a law of attraction, then those types of men will show up, those experiences will show up. Or if you do attract a man who actually is more trusting, you could become even more scared because you are so used to saying men are always this way. Therefore, in a way, you sometimes feel more control and safer to say, I told you so, versus being that place of discomfort and going, oh my God, it's actually, I'm afraid to be vulnerable. I'm afraid to be open. Oh my God, these guys have been actually easier because they're predictable. What is that about? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
when I work with relationships, it's really peeling back that conversation to why would you say that to yourself? What would you prefer? And in that, you typically get the transparent beliefs and fears that continue to perpetuate this. There's also this idea, which I agree with, that men could be a particular way. But it's like this. Imagine me and I have a garden. And in this garden, I have primarily vegetables and fruits growing. And I look at the weeds and I keep talking about the weeds and I'm watering the weeds. Then in time, all I'm paying attention to and all I'm going to see are weeds because I've been watering it with my energy, my thoughts, my feelings. So it's true that on a collective trail, there are a lot of men that might be that way, but there's also many men who are not. And so it's very important to remember that regardless if they're all types of people, regardless of all people have issues, what can I do within myself to create a better chance to attract more of what I prefer? And that is by talking about it, that person, that type of person, by being open to it, by working on the fears and blocks that maybe block you from attracting that. To if you do attract it, you don't sabotage the date because of that fear inside. And it's a process. And when you do the work, you start experiencing different types of people. And sometimes you even experience the same person that you thought you knew differently because you changed inside. You perceive him or her differently.
Yeah, and that's so powerful what you're saying, because we're creating from a place, I mean, with our eyes closed. I mean, and you're right, like we're only looking for the weeds instead of creating from a place of power and allowing people to come and present themselves as they are and welcoming they as they are. And we have a different, I mean, we already have something that we're seeing, looking for in them. We're looking for them to hurt us. And so when we have when we're moving from our heart, from a heart space of just really recognizing that people have struggled, and let's come together and see the good, and but not keep our eyes closed. We're creating from power and not desperation or from being hurt. And this is about healing wounds, like you're saying. And I mean, if we're feeling that, then I feel like we have a lot of healing that we can do, and to do it in a loving space, really recognizing that we don't have to condemn ourselves. But and then I'm sure you have a lot of practice with that, helping couples heal and realizing it's these underlying wounds that are causing these beliefs.
There are a lot of these wounds and beliefs and, say, negative thoughts on the collective trail and the consciousness of people do shape how we might see ourselves, to how we might see relationships. And what I mean is that you can look at an Instagram account or several where you see there's a woman who is allowing herself to be objectified. It helps her with followers and likes. And like, if you're a woman who is like, that's not me. I don't want to put that out there. You can also have the thought with, how do I compete with that? To even like, why are men so sexually driven? And then it's also, you can see how, oh, there's a lot of polarizing thoughts, the way people put their bodies out there, to other things, to where in the media we portray bad behavior, we portray unhealthy communication skills, say with reality TV types of stuff. We don't necessarily promote the idea that you can have a very authentic and real conversation. We don't promote how people can get an argument and someone say, I was afraid. I'm sorry I spoke this way. The other person say, thank you for just holding that space. We don't see that because it doesn't create a lot of drama and tension. So many people, particularly like those from the, say, younger generation, I remember the time where I saw the Brady Bunch, or that also was a lie also, but at least it wasn't people sleeping with everyone to putting out their bad behavior and that being seen as kind of cool. Now we're immersed in a world where like that's the stuff that gets likes, followers, and whatever else. It is what like drives consumers to say like something on Facebook, just put someone's butt or something and it's going to draw someone's attention to it. And it's like clickbait, they just kind of buy that thing. And so, but that's not the real world, like behind closed doors of how all people feel. That's not the real world with how people are functioning, both men and women. And what I mean by that, there's the world that you see on Instagram or Facebook or anywhere else. And then there's the world that you experience just like other people. And very much of what we see in social media is just a aspect of kind of what happens with some people, or it's something that's used to promote something for, like, say, consumerism, when most of us really want to feel heard and loved and seen and so forth. And if you have this knowingness, you recognize that you're not alone. You don't have to pay attention about that story out there. And you might say that, well, it is this way because you should see my last 3 boyfriends. All my female friends go, these guys that are cheaters. Well, this is what I feel, and that is to get a good glimpse of your unconscious mind, to what you're working out, to what really is a great thing or attribute of yourself, is look at the 5 people in your circle. Look at the 5 people that you text, message, or talk to on a regular basis, weekly. And there's a good chance that they're there because they're moving through the same thing. They're like you. So if you're, as an example, if you're trying to be financially successful, do you want to have like 4 or 5 other friends who are talking about how they're claiming bankruptcy, or how they're just constantly lose money, or money is the root of all evil? Like, more than likely, like, that energy and those conversations are gonna hold you down. So while I'm not dismissing, it could be a person's experience by what they've experienced as a individual, but also by like the type of friends you attract. That is still your own echo chamber. That is still like your reality, when it could be something different. And maybe the reason why you're seeing this is by how you see yourself in relationships, by those negative projections, by validating this is the way it's always going to be because so-and-so says the same thing. You don't need to be like so-and-so. You don't have to be like that person. You can create your own identity, your own new reality, and thrive in relationships and wherever else you want in life.
Yeah, and that's so true, because we are watching social media and we don't have those healthy, and the TV shows, right? I mean, you're right about like the Brady Bunch. At least they did have a family structure. They weren't fighting all the time. They weren't, and they were communicating somewhat in a normal manner. And today we've lost those communication skills. And how beautiful it is when you said that we're able to, when we're in a partnership, we're able to say thank you for expressing that, and without defensiveness. Thank you for letting me know that that you need something more in the relationship. Thank you for letting me know that that you're not feeling loved. And instead of saying but I'm trying to show you love, but welcoming that and saying, how can we make this better? Being resilient, having 2 partners that are resilient is beautiful. So, and that's so important. And that kind of brings me up. Well, we got some ladies that have asking some questions here. So let me get to them. Thanks for watching, ladies. I'm not, if you can give StreamYard permission to use your name, we'll know who's watching. But so someone's asking, what is one specific way to attract that right person?
One specific way to attract that right person is remembering that you're that right person. It's an extension of yourself. You don't attract what's out there, you attract what is in here. There's no way around it. We project onto people what we are. And that could be moment by moment by waking up rested, or waking up and being rushed and looking at a text message one moment going, why is he being an asshole, to looking at the text message after taking a nap going, oh, he's just asking a question. So, it's perception. It's how we feel. So this is something I always take conversations a lot deeper, because I have worked with over 6,000 clients, and I've seen people try to expedite their process. And you can't cheat your process. You can't take the fast lane and feel as though that you'll get there right away. And what I mean by that is this: is if I were a man or woman and I have a history of attracting people who are not fully available or accessible, and I've never even experienced that. And the story could be this: very innocent. I had a father who was a pilot. Wow, go figure. My first connection to a male role model was someone who's always gone. Oh, that's interesting. To my first high school boyfriend, he became a professional, this or that, and he seemed to leave a lot. So nothing wrong, nothing traumatic in that, but that's this kind of part of how you've been conditioned unconsciously to say, be okay with the relationships with a man who's unavailable. Then you go out, you meet someone who seems great, but he actually text messages you more than any other relationship you have experienced before. He compliments you. He seems to be, oh my God, present with you. He's listened to your words to, like, I think is too much. You have no idea, as a man, how many women I have dated where I actually am a really good guy and I show up. And I've seen that. And before I became a coach, I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm doing the opposite what I see on TV. I'm listening to women say, this is what I want. I'm sensitive, I'm masculine, I communicate, and I don't play games. But they seem to always be choosing the bad boy, the man who would never commit, whatever, because that might have been what they're used to. It's not like they're consciously going, oh, I want to wake up with a heartache every day. I want to know where he's at always, so I feel like crap. It's maybe something that you are just used to. So when someone shows up who's available, it might feel very foreign and you can reject that. So in that process, this person who just asked this question, I could say, well, for this particular thing, you need to be more available. You need to be more accessible and be okay with being vulnerable. Okay, well, you just kind of have it here. So you just say to yourself, I'm going to listen to questions. I'm going to be more open. I'm going to talk to my female friends to see, does it look like I'm more open? And yet it's still not something that's been integrated. And that integration might start with working with a coach. It might be reading a book. It might be going to do yoga. It might be where you sit in meditation. You kind of ask, what does it feel like when someone has access to me? Oh, I feel uncomfortable. What does it feel like? Oh my God, I realize that I don't have strong enough boundaries. That's why I'm not really in relationships. I blame it on the man, but it's more that I'm a people pleaser and I get pulled and I become a babysitter and oh my God, I lose myself in relationships. That's a real issue, and it's also why I've attracted more casual men, or I choose guys that will break up me anyway. Like, it's taking ownership of love and recognizing I'm participating. I'm participating.
That makes sense. Yes, taking radical responsibility for what you've attracted in the relationships, mm-hmm. and really getting clear on what you want, and you being that, like you're saying, you are the right person, and stepping up into that greater story of yourself. So that's very powerful. So let me, let's see, what do we got here? Why do guys pull away when you're with them too much, even if they invite you over?
Well, it's the same response I just gave, but first off, it's this: if you're out with a guy who you're having sex with, and then he doesn't want you when you're there, well, then obviously that's kind of you gotta be aware of that it might be just like he's more interested when there's that polarity. There's that. Here's the thing to just throw out there. So I do this authentic relating types of workshops. Been a while. I haven't done it in person since COVID, and where people would meet for the first time. These were not necessarily singles, but more often it was. Sometimes couples would show up. And that was really revealing as well. Where a person you're meeting for the first time would say, if I were to put all your exes in the same room, what would they say is your greatest strengths and your weaknesses? To a complete stranger. To own oh, I'm overbearing, I'm too ambitious, I'm a workaholic, to, I become needy, but also the positive stuff. To another question is this: what do you like when you are in your shit? Meaning because everyone can show up for the first couple months, it's great. But when you both leave, life happens. Life is happening always. So that person might say, I hang up on the phone, I get angry, I work more, I gaslight, I'm a runner, whatever it is. And the next thing you can say or ask is, how can I better support you when you're in a space? Now you put out there the most negative survival mechanism that could be in a way of a relationship. Now you might think, well, it's not like you're going to be on a first time date to gather this. But when you're courting someone, when you're getting to know someone, you don't want to know about their career or where they see themselves in the future. That can happen. That's important. But how are they when shit hits the fan? Sure, they might like sex just like you, but ask them, you want to know, what does sex really mean to them? How does it feel in your body when we make love? If a guy can't answer that, he can't go deep. He gets overwhelmed. And so when you're there, your presence brings up his shadows. He wants it easier. He wants to be on his video games or check out or whatever. He can't maybe handle the intensity. So it's very important when people start to get to know someone that you're able to kind of understand who they are, their survival mechanisms, to more things about how they feel experience versus assume.
Oh, that's very important, how they feel. Because right there, you're going to know if they're good communicators or if they're scared to have those deeper conversations. And it's really, that's what makes up a satisfying relationship, is when you can go deep and you're not having to wonder, when you can have those honest, safe communications at all times. That's essential. So that's a great thing that you just brought up.
I'm going to be very transparent about two experiences I had. One is with a friend, and I'll tell Laura I spoke about her today. And then someone else. So this will give you an example, because they could be seen as a first-time experience, whether it was to be a lover or a friend. My friend came over. She's a coach also, healer. And there was a weird exchange at the very end of the evening. My son went to sleep. And she did some energy work on me. She knew I was exhausted. She offered it. And then she took off. And she sent a text message saying something felt off. And I immediately thought she meant it was me. And I said, well, tell me, what is it? What is it? I can handle this. I'm one of those type of men who can. And she said, this is the frustration. It wasn't you. Why can't men just hold the space for me to share that it's about me, it's a trigger? And somehow I wasn't hearing it, that the trigger she had really had nothing to do with me. It had to do with something with her that she's working through. And she just wanted to share it without anything. That was it. And we ended up laughing on the phone. And she said that I'm getting used to even just sharing that there's something off. I used to share this with boyfriends, and they would get mad. They'd try to fix it. They would think, why why would you bring this up when we just had a perfect evening? Well, as you know, we're all going through a bunch of shit right now. We're all experiencing in our dreams around all the stress. We're carrying a lot of shit. And so if people are going to be in relationships now, reach for the stars, attract someone who can like be that container, because maybe you just feel like shit for no reason. That's okay. It's not about him. So you want to be able to have this conversation. So Laura and I became closer. She realized, I go, I get that. I get that. I'm sorry. I thought it was something about me. And she said, no, not at all. I was just bringing it up. I went, okay, done. Okay. But that was fun. That was transparent. And she's become a closer friend to me as an example of like that, how that happened and how it can look. Now, I did go on a date for the first time this last Friday. And God, if I say these different things, it might portray a particular archetype, but why not? An ex-lawyer, kind of very methodical, very performance, this thing. And while I had some moments of joy with her, I couldn't wait for it to be over. And it was more because I felt that I was in presence of a representative. I was in presence of someone. She was physically attractive. She like had those physical markers, but whatever was happening in the exchange wasn't sincere and authentic. And when I asked questions, it was more kind of going to a place of what she thought I wanted her to say. Like I'd rather her say, you know what, I'm really afraid right now. I'm still going through a process with my ex, whatever it is. Like, I know that might sound strange. Like, well, there's not a lot of guys that exist who would want to hear that. But again, about the garden, there are guys who do. And that's what you focus on. There's guys who want to feel the realness. And so, and the more and more you attract that, that just becomes your experience. And the thing is that you might ask, like, well, how do you attract it, whatever? Well, this is my learning. I first actually told this person I'm not interested. Literally did. And then she sent a few messages. I went, okay, maybe I'm judging this too quickly or whatever. But it was my intuition. It was on. So I'm okay with it. There's nothing wrong with it. So that's why they call it dating. then, the next day I had this decent sized party. I had a bunch of my friends show up. And I went, God, this feels so much better. Because everyone's laughing. It was like this authentic expression. I'm like, yeah. And I went, I'm not judging, please. But I went, that person I was with last night, I don't know if she'd really flow in here. My friends would pick up on that, like she's not open, she's not accessible. So there are male and female versions of being closed. And typically people are more open, who don't want to work so hard to like understand you, would be not attracted to that. So what I'm saying is that be how you want to be that attractive self, and then you'll attract others who like that. That's the point. That's what it means to be yourself. Be yourself, be quirky, be open, be expressive, be artistic, be passionate. Because otherwise, if you're trying to be something else, what you attract is some man doing the same.
That is so true. You're right. I mean, and you can't fake it forever, and neither can they. And when everyone stops faking it, then it's going to be blowing up. I mean, that's about taking responsibility. If you faked it and now you're in a relationship that isn't working, then you've got to take responsibility. You know what? I'm sorry that I presented myself in the wrong fashion.
Yeah. Well, here you go. In every long-term relationship, both people eventually accidentally fart in front of each other. There you go. The thing is that everyone has their moments, their bodily functions, everything. Everyone
Right.
cannot be on. People get tired. When a person looks really hot lingerie or whatever else, it doesn't mean immediately the person's supposed to be excited. Life is hitting up with all of us. All this BS we've seen on TV that is supposed to be a certain way is all bullshit. It's truly about co-creating a relationship. Authentic relating. That's why they call it a relating ship. It's not like you relate, then you get on a ship and everything's fine. It's constantly relating because you're both growing, your body's changing, you like different things sexually, things that you're okay with before, you don't like anymore. I mean, it's just really being able to be in this co-partnership. And if you can't do that from the beginning, there you go. And you know, a lot of people will go, well, he is going through a hard time, to just kind of like not really owning the experience. Well, sure, you can wait for their future self forever. Sure. You know, I've seen that. I've seen people where a couple showed up, you know, one session, you know, and she's saying, you know, I think he'll make a great partner, a father. You know, he's like 43 and she's like 37, 38. And she's like, of course, it's going to become hard to get pregnant. And like, he's really clear in saying, you know, I'm just not ready. You know, I'm not sure about everybody ready. I'm really focused on my career. And I said, how long has he been saying that? She said about 8 years. I said, what are you not hearing? Then she goes into saying, well, I feel blah, blah. I go, so what you feel overrides what he said. And it was one of those, they ended the relationship. Not right there on the couch, but it was more like she thanked me. She had this clarity of like all this wishful thinking, not really hearing what he was saying. And it doesn't mean this guy was a jerk. It was like she wasn't taking it as like truth. Any guy, any woman could do all the talking they want. They can say, oh, I'm the perfect person to be in a relationship, but I'm working on that to, you know, sure, I have my stuff. Well, what is that stuff? Show me your stuff. Show me how you're working on that stuff. You know, unless people are taking action, it's just talk. Bottom line, it's just talk. We're multidimensional beings to have a spiritual, psychological, emotional experience, but also 3D. Like, you know, walk forward, make the phone call, take the chance, go call your coach, work on that stuff.
Yes, you're right. A lot of times we have the blinders. We don't want to see. It's very clear, and it's really good that man said, "This is what I want." He wasn't being deceptive, but we're just like, "No, I don't want to hear it." Yes, so it's like we got to keep our eyes and ears open. So, yeah. So now I've got another question: are men looking for a woman with different strengths over 60 years old?
Well, what do you think? Yeah, absolutely. Strength. Well, okay. So again, I'll open this up. If you are attracting a man who has baby boomer language, or like kind of black or white thinking, or very deep into patriarchy, you know, he maybe just wants some physical there, or someone he talks down to, or whatever. You know, what type of man are you talking about? But if you're talking about a man who is learning about himself, to do a little bit of reading, watching this video, you know, exploring life, maybe a little bit more adventurous, then of course he's going to like it that you wrote a book, or you're writing just for the sake of writing, to you're great at communicating and whatever else. Like, honestly, like men who really get it now, I'm not talking about the guys who are just like sitting back on the couch and letting women mother them. I'm talking about men who've been working so hard, particularly like my father, who did the same thing, who passed away this year. Is that for us, like old school guys, man, we work really hard. I'm a worker, and it is awesome when I see a woman step up. Now, I will always carry the groceries, always the heavy stuff, and I will always do more. But when I receive help, like my friend Laura, who helped me out that night, it's awesome. I'm actually learning how to receive as a man.
Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, I love what you're saying, because a lot of women think that men don't want powerful women, or they don't want women that are successful in their careers, and that's just not true. Studies show it's not true, but we're still believing that good men don't want that. But what do you say about that?
Really good men. Insecure men don't want that. Insecure men don't want that. No differently than, you know, insecure short men don't want women to wear heels. You know, I mean, right. So it's not a problem if they love you. Bottom line, your career shouldn't matter unless you're gone all the time. Then you're just not available. It's not about your career. It's not an energetic match, because he wants you to spend more time with him. That's all.
Yes, you're right there, because I know that there was a lady that said, "Oh, he was mad about my career," but then, like you said, that the husband, he missed her. He wanted to be with her, and she was putting all those hours, and so there was just not that communication. right?
Clear communication. That's the other thing. It's like, if I were to be around more, what is it that you would feel more joy? How would you feel more joy? What would we do if we were not working a whole lot? I wasn't working a whole lot. What do you feel you're not getting by me working so much? And just questions like that, you get to the true desire. I miss you. I love you. I got a
Right.
friend named Amy, is one of my best friends, and she just finally quit after 20 years of just killing herself, literally this week. And she's hardly present with me, where she'll forget things, and she's just like, but when she saw her when she's sick, because she has to be vulnerable, like literally sick, to like those moments where someone broke up with her and she's sad. That's when we've been the most connected. And I told her that. I said, when you are humbled by life or sick, I feel you. But this other person you become, it's a turnoff. And I even told her, I said, like, don't bring your phone in here. Like we'll be in the middle of a conversation. You'll go somewhere else. You'll look at your phone. You're not here anymore. And all that we cultivated together, the conversation, it's just dropped, because it's now you being contrite. Where were we?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Amen to that. Yes.
Yeah. So you might be stressed, like, wow, he's pretty direct. Well, I teach people how to treat me. I create the relationships I want. The people who don't like me don't like me.
That's beautiful what you just said. You teach people how to treat you, right? And that's right. If we're getting bullied or we're getting walked on, or if we're overgiving, I mean, we're setting that up. We're putting ourselves out as this is okay. The silent agreement. We haven't stepped up for ourselves. We don't know what we want before we go into a relationship. We're just going in and thinking, okay, well, this person looks, they're good looking, and so hopefully it matches. So yeah.
Right. This boundaries and conversations happen also with clients. I had a client who has been a little more excessive reaching out to me, but even when he would leave a message, he said, I hope I'm not crossing a boundary. Instead of 3 times, the third time, I said, you're actually crossing a boundary. You need to wait to our appointment time to talk. He could fire me. I'm okay with that. But he also doesn't have boundaries. Who's going to teach him to have boundaries if I don't have boundaries?
Right.
I teach people how to treat me wherever I go.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, let's see here. Let me get to another one. Things go good at first, then down the line, things change. Why is that?
Things go good based off how you probably feel in that moment, which is kind of more in the fantasy versus getting real and talking about the deeper stuff I've been speaking about this entire interview. It's not anything. It's so easy to just like not talk about things. Keep in mind, I mentioned that I was on that date, and physically this person was attractive, and I'm sure that so much can come from it. But deep in my heart, my body, I'm like, oh. So if it were not to work out, who am I to blame? Myself. Going against my integrity. So yeah, people like are more caught up with, I want to avoid conflict. I don't want to hurt his feelings. Here's the deal. If you're afraid to hurt a man's feelings first 2 months in, woo! Like, is that a man to hold space for you? I mean, because there's no connection to history. There's no animosity in the past. What is he carrying that's so heavy that you would be the one person to trigger all of that? He doesn't know you in 2 months.
That's a very, very good point. Yes.
Yeah, that's old stuff. That's baggage he hasn't worked out.
Yes, definitely. So I'm looking at these other things. I know that I had some questions from another ladies that were, she was saying that she's having really a lot of problems communicating with her husband. And so she said, if a man is not communicating with you with words, should you consider his actions communication? How far is that going to take you in your relationship?
Well, it depends on also like if the actions yield the result you want. For example, if you're saying, I want you to be more present, closer, but he doesn't sit there and go, I love you, and your dress looks so beautiful, but he puts down his phone and he snuggles up next to you, is that enough? It's also this, when we want something from someone else, there is obviously something we're feeling disconnected from. I always feel at the core, it's source. I feel as though we can be complete by ourselves and connect to those feelings with or without a person. But still, when there's something that you feel is missing, such as closeness. To you feel as though him talking will let you know where he's at because you don't trust him, or because he doesn't talk, you don't trust him. Oh, what's that about me? Oh, I don't feel secure by his lack of communication. How do I feel secure regardless? So I always bring it back to being able to fulfill ourselves with what it is that we think we're missing. And then from there, gauge whether or not it's us or them. Because when we say, I wish you'd be more communicative, and we feel complete, it's not expecting them to do anything. It's saying that, it does feel better to when you came on the other day and you shared about work, I love being there for you, and it just made me feel closer to you. I'd love to feel more of that, Bob. Bob's going to go, oh, I got a compliment, for showing up. It's, but if you show up and go, and you feel needy and like, you never talk to me, a guy's going to be turned off. He's going to feel like, what more? You never appreciate me. So, when we want to experience something, we want to make sure that we're aware that it's something we can create it within, but also use the correct language to elicit a more positive response.
That's definitely true. And I love the way you said that. I mean, to be very aware of acknowledging the good and the times that when things are going really right, to really say thank you for that.
Yes.
I really love that. So,
And also the thing is that with it's a general statement. I know people can say, okay, but men can be very dense. So you can say, don't you get it? Like there's this unspoken type of body language and energy that women have where they look at each other and they're just getting it. I just have to be one of those guys who gets that. So I could be with a bunch of female friends and a man is, well, we saw it the other night where a man was kind of leading sexually, and we can just see these little comments, and I'm looking at my female friends, and yes, I'm straight, but I still can communicate this way. And we kind of can feel that in our bodies. And so I get that little level of kind of, why doesn't he get it? To even when you say it in your way, he doesn't get it. And the thing is that men are not practiced into this still. I don't care if if now there's a lot more men express themselves. I mean, I know I'm one of them. So I'm part of that new generation, but still it's just not something that's practice. It's not something that's practice. Even though there's more support for men to communicate now and so forth, just think about this. I know this is a generalization again, but it's just what I still see. If you see a man who is crying at his desk he's calling you, I don't know what to do in my life. My life's a mess. To this man will call me up, Ray, I don't know what to do. I need help, whatever. I feel like the women, unless they feel sorry for him or they want to mother him, the last thing you're going to think is, oh, I can't wait to sleep with you. Or you're attractive. Whoa, you're best. Whereas still when it comes to, say, women, a lot of guys, they feel like they have some purpose to give you the tissue or show up. To other women, we're like, man, we're gonna go through this together. There's this support, moment by moment that's socially accepted. And it's not like that women are viewed as, oh my God, she's now not attractive. Because for a masculine man, we like that femininity. We like the emotions and stuff. But when we see that in men still, more than often we're like, oh, whatever, it's like, I don't think, and this is not a cut down, but I'm just trying to be really raw and truthful. It's not like when, Michael Jackson was alive, women were looking at him going, oh, wow, he is so masculine. He'd be a great father. We all feel like it's kind of out there and flowy and just not grounded. And, he's got a lot of emotional problems, so because of that, even with, men getting support by a coach or going to groups within our culture, still moment by moment, there's these double standards when it comes to support moment by moment for men and women. Men are still seen as not being as attractive when they're that way.
Yeah, you're right. And that's so funny because someone had asked me this to ask you, she said, how and if do men approach their own personal work and growing? Do most men seek a woman to do that for them?
It ends up being that way. That's what's unfortunate. And then women feel like they're the men's mothers, and then it kills the sexual polarity. Then, so I think men and women should have their own tools to maybe possibly their own coaches, to being able to have a container in which when they do talk, that there's a sense of responsibility. As an example, I'm working with a pretty powerful coach, and she will talk to her best friend, but she also has the tools to work on herself. So when she does finally open up to her partner, it means that because he has to participate, it could be something that's within the house, and he usually crumbles. It's usually not good timing for him. He usually becomes overwhelmed, and she has gotten just so pissed off where she's become apathetic, doesn't want to hear his excuses, because here she has her own process. She goes to somebody before she says something to him. She's not communicating in a reactionary way. Whereas with this person, he just boom, right at her. Boom, boom. She can't be that container when she's also holding a container for all these other people she works with. So a healthy relationship, you want to be able to like have your support team and your partner. But if you don't have the tools to work with your partner, then your partner becomes your coach.
Yeah, I see that. And then when you talked about mothering men and how that is killing the passion. So how would you step back from that? If you're a woman that's mothering up, what would you need to do? How do you, for a lot of women, it's hard to let go of that mothering tendency. What would be your recommendation? And so what do men really think about women that mother?
Well, if you're with sorry, walking away here.
That's okay.
Well, men who are okay with mothering might be unconscious to it. Secondly, they might be men who've not really stepped into their masculinity, so therefore she hunts better than him. Third, he maybe hasn't really connected to other people or support to hold space for him emotionally, so he comes to her. Fourth, he maybe has never felt enough and still looking for mother energy to compliment him. His sense of self is by what women say to him, or if they sleep with him. That's something that is experienced for a lot of men. So that's not really a healthy man. Women who are mothering men, it's this. So first off, when you still sleep with them, if you do, you got oxytocin, moving through your body to where you're bonded to him no differently than a child. You have to be able to step back from what you're feeling and be able to, in a way, to step into a little bit more logical thinking while being still heart connected is, what's my trajectory? How do I see myself as a woman and going? You need to have a purpose. Is this the direction I want to go? Because if it's pulling you down, someone's got to steer the ship, because he's holding up more of the emotional space. He's possibly drowning you and even your finances and everything else. So that's part of it. The other thing is this. What would it be like if you were to say goodbye? I would feel really bad. Why? Because I don't know if he can take care of himself. How does that feel hearing yourself say that? How is he going to learn how to take care of himself if you're taking care of him? I'm afraid he's going to think this way about me. He's going to think this way about you anyway. Other people think negative things about you. Like, to where it comes back to taking ownership for your actions. And it always comes back to this people-pleasing thing. But what's behind people-pleasing thing is that if I let him go, I'm a bad person. I let him go, I fell. If I let him go, like whatever it is. There's also this collective norm that has been perpetuated in our culture for centuries, where it's the idea that women take care of men. They follow behind men, make sure everyone's okay. It's just being the glue to keep things together. It's not your job. It's not your job.
You're right. And that's very important that we all hear this, because it's easy to fall into that trap, and then men are, because of that, like you're saying, that it's normalized for men to do that too, to accept that from women.
It could be. I don't like it. My friend Amy tries to mother me sometimes. Like she says words that I kind of laugh about. I'm like, because she communicates to me sometimes same way she communicates to my 7-year-old son. And I've kind of said, I don't know a lot of like really healthy masculine men would be okay with that. It sounds like patting me on the head, but I don't take it personally because I know it's her way of showing up. But that's also why, like when if someone does that with me, I'm like, I'm not polarized. I'm not going to be polarized by mother energy.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I love what you're talking about. I mean, like with the masculine energy, using your masculine to get out of these issues. I mean, if you're in that, and you're really in the feminine of feeling and that heartfelt space, but then you can tune into your masculine to say, let me stand strong for myself and get out of this relationship that's not serving me, tuning into something different, because I can really feel your masculine energy, and I could see why you wouldn't want to be mothered.
But I do like help. I do like to be cared for. I'm learning how to be more receptive to that. It's an area where I'm willing to say, like, I need help today, or can I talk to you? That's a strange experience for me. So, but that's where I'm at. I'm part of a different generation. My dad was turned 95, and then he passed away in March. And my dad started going to therapy when he was 80 years old for PTSD. Wow. He was in 3 major wars. So he was kind of like, like progressive, masculine from that old generation. He's like, God, I've got a lot of stories that are haunting me. And he reached out for help. And I'm so happy. Amazing. He died so peacefully. Like, just, it's I mean, every son and daughter would want this for their parent who like had carried all of this with him.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I love that. And I love the way that you stand in your energy and about allowing and I mean, sure. I mean, in the women's energy, allowing men to do for them, allowing a man to hold the door open for her, and to help in that aspect, because we're so in this other culture where we can do it ourselves, and we're independent. We don't need anybody. We don't need men. We can do it all. And then there's a space in our hearts, I mean, to open up to others. And we do need that beautiful masculine energy. So
the thing is that whether it's a man or a woman, it needs to become more fluid, meaning that we all are pretty much imbalanced and overusing our feminine or masculine energy. I'm probably imbalanced in my masculine. In fact, my body is taking a hit from depleting my yin, my kidneys, which is the feminine. That's a whole nother story. But it's really being fluid. And those moments, both men and women can blend together in a beautiful dance and be able to be there for each other. And that's a direction we're going anyway. So I know it's different for those who are baby boomers, Gen X's, and so forth. But I do know that the millennials and the Gen Z's are moving in that direction of collaboration. There's this idea, this very negative narrative that has been created by, and when I say these things, I just say more matter of fact, I communicate very much like a Gen X, or like a little bit like my father, who was even older than the baby boomers generation. It could be experienced as a little bit like directional and whatever else. It is that, this judgment that there's lack of polarity, that, men are a little bit more feminine and women are more masculine. It's imbalanced, and it has been integrated, and also it's being judged by how it fits in our current outdated culture. Like, our systems are breaking apart. So just in time, even having a vice president who's a female, it's movement to where we're going to soften. And when I say soften, where maybe we're not supposed to be like fucking all the time. Maybe like men and women need to be a little more balanced, and where we have other sources to connect to feminine energy or masculine energy, where it's not, like most men, like it's where the only feminine source is through the woman, versus surfing, gardening, spend time with your children. Like, we are so imbalanced. Energy comes from, many different things. So hopefully, in time, you'll see, I know it's going to happen, that we're a little more blended, and a lot of problems that still show up right now are not going to be here. It's not going to make sense, because you're surrounded by community. You can be feminine or masculine, feminine as a man or a woman. You have people who are accepting you as you are.
And you're right.
Right now, we're at a very extreme where it's just open wounds, where people really, take to heart pronouns. I mean, like, we're in a very interesting place.
Yeah, it's a very different place. So there's just a lot of newness coming forth, and there can be a lot of new healing, you know, if we're feeling
Mhm.
unsure of ourselves. I mean, that's the times to explore. So
Yes.
yeah, definitely. And so we're coming up on the end. I just wanted to see if there was one thing that you could share with us and really tell these ladies where they can reach you and how you serve, you know, where they can find you. And
So you can go to my website, raydoktor.com, www.raydoctor.com. I do also a free discovery call. I'm not sure if you're going to have a link to the Rapid Relationship Rescue program,
yeah,
but it's just a really cool, powerful masterclass for free where comes with a book, but it's primarily about 90 minutes of different videos that helps you kind of break down these negative thinking I've been talking about in this, probably a little more in the beginning of this session, but it's really breaking down the social norms, the self-sabotaging thoughts. It's really easy to do. And in that experience, you'll be able to kind of move into a space of where you feel as though you can choose the relationships you want to be in, choose how you want to show up to relationships, and truly create the relationships that you want. It's a kind of an unpeeling process to come back to who you really are.
well, that's beautiful. Yes, definitely. And well, I'll definitely put all these comments in the link. And for the ladies, have any other questions, just ask away in the comments, and I'll come back and we'll come back to them later and see. And
Also, if I'm part of the Facebook group and you put them there and I'm on that for a little while, I don't mind answering. I mean, I'll see a notification. I'll get to it as soon as I can.
yes, and so afterwards you can put all that. Feel free to put all that in the comments and be a part of the group for a little while. Yes, so, but yeah, what would you say to inspire these ladies to stay on track to being to their really that divine wisdom and to their respectfulness in their hearts? What would you say to that? One last thing.
Here is a little exercise. So, if you were to take pause, close your eyes, and really be honest with yourself, and think about how much you talk about men, how much you talk about what he did or didn't do. What if you were to really be able to clearly think and notice how much of your life is about maybe a relationship with a man and all the energy you put into that? And now just imagine this thought. What would it be like to not even focus your energy onto a man? What would it be like to not focus who you're going to be, how you're going to feel by how a man responds to you or not? How much lighter would your life feel recognizing that your life is not defined by whether you're with a man or not? How much more positive and energized would you feel if you realize that a man could just be an extension of your life? A man could be an extension of your life, that you love yourself truly, that you make your life about you, that you fill your heart up, that you stay connected to your purpose. Then how would possibly men fill up your life then? How much would they even rule your world versus be a part of your world, an extension of your world, because you're complete and whole and beautiful as you are. That's what I would have everyone do.
Well, that's beautiful. That made me feel very expansive, right? Very
That's this.
free.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that
Yeah.
beautiful. Yes, thank you for being here. And we got a lot of value from that. We're going to put this into action.
Yes. Thank you very
So
much.
thank you. Thanks, ladies. And we will have a blessed day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.